Hey guys, Jack here with Josh Abshire. We've also got Elvis and his father Levi. Today we're just going to sit down and talk about the story of Elvis and Levi. Y'all have seen them on hats, shirts, other apparel. They're probably going to be goofballs here, but we just want to dive into the story and talk a little bit about their history and what's to come. All right, Josh. So I feel like Elvis and Levi have become an important part of the Swamp Dog brand.
Yep.
So let's start with Levi. When did you get him? When did you send him to training? Where? And how did we end up with
How did we
this
get here?
maniac?
Yeah. He's something, isn't he? Well, so, the story of Levi actually started before Levi was even with us. I don't know if you know this or not, but I actually hunted one time with Levi's mother. I remember her name was Nellie. And Nellie was kind of the first dog that I had ever seen that had been through proper training.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved to duck hunt, always loved dogs, grew up with a black lab, but she was a pet.
So
but
did I.
yeah, so all we ever knew was they like to go fetch stuff.
Right.
But as far as being steady and the obedience and blinds and stuff like that, I had never seen anything like that. So I'll never forget hunting with Dillon and Nellie that day, who is Levi's mother. And I remember that day telling Dillon, if she ever has puppies, I want one. And I can't remember how much time passed before Dave Wilson at Gold Leaf Retrievers, Nellie was his personal dog at the time, and they ended up having a litter of puppies, and I felt like I was at the point in life where I could get one, and that was in 2016, and that's where Levi came from. So I didn't know what I was getting into. We just, anytime you get a dog, you always hope that he has some sort of talent, but you never really know. You just kind of do the best you can with good stock and pay attention to your breeding and hope for the best.
It's like a box of chocolates.
It's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. So, all that happened kind of right around the time that Dillon Bass and I were graduating college together. And it's hard for me to talk about Levi without mentioning Dillon and his company,
Right.
Old Mill Retrievers.
Yeah.
Yep, which is out of Four Oaks. So Dillon got Levi when he was 6 months old.
Mm-hmm.
Dropped him off on Mother's Day, I actually remember. So, and Levi, he probably spent in and out of training, probably spent in upwards of a year in training, which is certainly advanced and overkill.
Sure.
From a hunting dog standpoint, but I've always looked at it as you'd rather have too much than not enough. And but it was really neat how all the timing worked out, because Levi was kind of a part of that first flight of dogs that Dillon had when he was starting his own company. So
Right.
he was one of 4 or 5 dogs. Levi had a litter mate in training with him at the same time.
At what age did you send Levi
Yep.
to Dillon?
So Levi went to Dillon when he was 6 months old, and it was really neat how the timing all worked out. Levi was kind of a part of Dillon's first flight of dogs, and
And he stayed for a year?
off and on, probably in upwards of a year. Yep. The initial training was probably 7 to 8 months. We came home for a hunting season, and then I think I sent him back to finish out his master title, and it probably totaled in somewhere around a year.
Yeah.
Probably so.
So then, I guess it was, how old? Levi was 4 when you decided to stud him out?
Levi would have been 4. Elvis is how old?
3?
Elvis is 3, so Levi would have been 4 and some change.
Yeah.
Yep. So I got a call from now my sister-in-law, her father's, her family dog. Her father approached me about studding out Levi, and I was certainly interested in carrying on what I believe to be a good bloodline.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to work out that you were thinking about getting a dog at the same time. So do you remember the conversation that we had?
I think you came to me and said, hey, I'm thinking about having a litter, and it was kind of I don't want to say forced.
Yeah.
But you said, hey, I'm gonna stud out Levi, and I want you to have a puppy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's perfect.
I remember
like,
saying
I would love to do that, and then you were like, definitely if I'm gonna give you this, pick of the litter.
Yep.
You're gonna send them to Dillon get
Yep.
trained. But I've known Dillon, so it was like obviously that was just kind of that's,
So-
doesn't
so
need to be said.
And you had
but-
hunted with Levi.
Yes.
Yeah, so you kind of knew a little bit about what you were
Mhm.
getting into, but
And then he was the same. He was, 6 months went to Dillon.
yeah,
And then he only stayed for 10 months.
10 months total. Yeah.
And then Elvis hadn't gone the route of doing all the, titles and whatnot. But
Yeah.
that was just kind of, I think the difference, you had a lot more time. I didn't
Life
have
was
much
different.
time, so.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on, you hear people say all the time, like, I don't want a field trial dog. I don't want a hunt test dog. I feel like there's a stigma out there that they're all high strung and they're hard. They're not pets. They're just robots, so to speak. Like, how has your opinion changed or evolved around going through formal training, knowing Levi, knowing his accolades and titles and things like that? How do you feel about that?
Well, considering he's sitting here eating sticks with Elvis, he's a normal dog.
He's a normal
dog. And there are certainly people out there who are very, one-sided.
Yeah.
They're going to treat their dogs like, these are tools, and we're going to go title them and so on and so forth. Which I get it. But at the same time, Levi will hang out and stay the weekend with Elvis, and vice versa, and they just get along, and they're normal dogs. So I think it can definitely go both ways. And then same with Elvis not having titles. He's just as good of a hunting dog as Levi. Now the sharpness, I would say he's not as sharp, but that's what's the difference is going to be.
Right.
Would I go hunt Elvis and
It's the difference between not to cut you off, it's the difference between a bachelor's degree and a master's degree.
Sure.
Something, if you wanted to compare it.
Exactly.
I never looked at, Levi has a bunch of nice, pretty ribbons. He has a couple titles, and that's all great. And the way that I looked at it was I never did it for fame or out of arrogance or pride or anything like that. I did it for Levi. And I just felt like at that point in time, I had the time to spend weekends gone. I mean, it was every single weekend for a couple years is what it seemed like. But I did it more so for him.
Come here.
For him, I wanted Levi to get the recognition that I thought he deserved for the work that that him and Dillon had put in together.
Yeah.
So.
And I get that too.
Yeah.
And this is what you're gonna get when you don't have them all tightened up.
Yeah.
Hey,
well, Levi's
get over here.
facing the opposite way, but it's all good.
Of course, they're exhausted from running all day. But,
so I didn't force your hand to take a dog, but I do remember having the conversation. If I give you this dog, we're gonna do it the right way.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get Dillon to train him.
Sit down.
Are you glad you did it? Are you glad you got him? Most days.
Most days. He's when he gets to be tired and ill and stuff. He's a different dog, but I wouldn't change a thing about it. And anybody watching this, I would say, I highly recommend any kind of training for really, if you're going to have a dog that even a household dog.
Yeah.
I mean, send it to obedience for 3 months, and it's going to be a completely different dog. It's going to know how to behave. It's not going to be jumping on people or biting. And then especially if you're hunting, I think the Cornerstone program is great too. That's a new and upcoming material for those who want to train their own dogs.
Yep.
But some sort of training is going to be beneficial when you're hunting. And
I agree.
And the dog just is more enjoyable to be
Yeah.
around.
It certainly doesn't have to be a sport dog or a working dog, but just basic obedience, being able to take them out into public settings and be confident in the way they're going to behave is just as important as his retriever training, as Levi's retriever training, as it is his obedience training.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
We've got, now it's been neat. We have plenty of memories with Elvis and Levi just hunting.
It has certainly been everything that I hoped it would be and more. And again, we didn't really know what we were getting with Elvis, but we knew we were going to send him to a great professional trainer.
Hey.
And we just hoped and prayed that he would be capable of hunting with his dad,
And so far he has.
So far.
He's not really acting like it right now.
So far.
But so I think that gives people a good overview. And Elvis, what do you?
How have you? I've loved how you've incorporated both of them into apparel and design and things like that. And
Yeah, it's been fun. It's given us, y'all have kind of given us some material to work from.
yeah,
You know, it builds the brand out. It incorporates our faith as far as just, I don't know. I feel like dogs are a gift. I mean,
are.
they really are. They
Yep.
show us, you know, the one-sided love that God shows us. I mean, they're always there for us.
yep,
You know, even when we turn our backs on them,
They're still there.
They come running.
Yep.
And they're just always willing to love on you and have fun.
yep.
So
They're still there. So
anyway, we'll y'all will probably be seeing some more of these two. And
hunting season's right around the corner.
hunting
So
season is around the corner. So
we've got a trip to. They're going together. So where have they been together?
well, let's see. They've been to North Dakota.
That was Elvis's first retrieve, right?
Elvis's first trip.
I remember the mallard.
And
Pothole in North Dakota. Not every dog gets to pick up a mallard for their first retrieve in
Yeah.
North Dakota.
Yeah, it was cool. So Arkansas
Arkansas,
several times. We're going to
Specs.
Kansas.
Yep.
So
Going to Kansas this year. That'll be both of their first times in Kansas.
Yeah.
So
and we're going to get a lot of hunts hopefully around here in North Carolina
Hope so.
on film, and
Yep.
hopefully we can bring that to the table and just have fun with it. So
cool.
anyway,
Think
appreciate
some
you.
good stuff in there.
Appreciate you gifting me Elvis.
Of course.
He's been a great dog.
Wouldn't have had it any other way. And he's in the pond.
Yep, he's in the pond.
Well,
I guess that wraps
he
up this
could
little
find water.
episode.
He could find water in the desert.